Well, good morning, everyone, and thank you so much for joining us for another episode of Hot Seat with Hinson. I'm Congresswoman Ashley Hinson, coming to you from Iowa, back home in Iowa. Always great to be back home from our time in Washington, D.C. And today I have the pleasure of introducing you to a great candidate right across the Mississippi River, Esther Joy King. She is running to flip Illinois' 17th district from blue to red. So Esther, good morning to you. Thank you so much for stepping up to run. Please tell us more about what's happening in your race and your district right across the river from me.
Yeah, hi neighbor. It's good to be on Hot Seat with you, Ashley, and I'm honored first of all. So a little bit about who I am in my race. I ran actually in the 2020 election. So what brought me to Western Illinois to run for Congress? My parents were Christian missionaries in Mexico, is where I grew up. So you can imagine with parents like that, they just taught me, Esther, if there's something wrong in the world, it's our responsibility. Jump in, make a difference, do something about it. And that fabric that my parents wove into me growing up has just kind of been the theme of my whole life. From when I first graduated from undergrad, the first job I took, I went to be an aid worker in Kabul, Afghanistan, doing women's rights work in Afghanistan. That experience really inspired me to become a lawyer, just seeing the contrast between Afghanistan and the United States. And we're so blessed here with this thing we call the rule of law. I said, I got to get involved. So I became a lawyer, then joined the United States Army as a JAG officer. So currently I'm an officer in the US Army and served at the Rock Island Arsenal here in the Quad Cities where I live. And then you don't live here very long in Western Illinois without really realizing that the current representative is underrepresenting us. It's just kind of everybody talks about it. It's like the word on the street. And Sherry Bustos, who has represented this district, she's just moved really far to the left, and it doesn't represent our Midwestern values. So people mentioned to me, actually a business leader here in the Quad City said, Esther, with your background, you'd be a great political candidate. Will you run for Congress? And with my parents teaching me it's my responsibility to jump in, I was compelled. Yes, of course. Like, if not me, then who? I can't sit on the sidelines and complain if I'm not willing to step up and do something about it. So led to me running in 2020. We were candidates alongside each other last time, and I fell just short in that election and said, this fight's not finished. So I'm running again in 2022. And it truly has been the honor of a lifetime to get to know people. My favorite part about this whole process is the people I get to meet, for sure.
Absolutely. And so many great stories coming from the people that we represent. And I know you've done a great job getting out in the community, meeting with folks, all walks of life. And I want to start by saying thank you for your service, Esther, because you have really stepped up, not only to help people who are underserved in Afghanistan, but to help people in this country through your service as an officer in the Army. So thank you for stepping up to serve our country. And now you're stepping up to serve in a different way. And I'm 100% on your team and want to make sure that you get to Congress. It's an open seat this time around. So you have a great chance to make your case again to voters. I think it's a really great opportunity to send another Republican woman to Congress. And when you look at the history we made in 2020, we got the path started for you, Esther. We elected a record number of Republican women. We elected minorities and veterans. And you obviously have a great story to tell there. What's your perspective on why we need more of those kinds of voices in Washington, D.C.?
Yeah, I'm truly honored to be part of this movement. Like you said, it was such a big focus of the 2020 election. And I think, Ashley, you know this just as well as anyone. People want people that are in touch with what they're going through, whether it's being a mom like you are, or for me, balancing a career and service and being in the military, all these elements of just normal life that we're all walking through each and every day, and taking that real world exposure and experience with us to Washington, D.C. truly allows us to be excellent representatives of our communities. And people are hungry for that authentic connection, that people know that their representatives hear them and understand them. And so it really is cool to be a Republican woman. This is 2020 was just the beginning, like you said, and now it's exploding in 2022. And Ashley, because I ran last election cycle and I'm running again, I've kind of become a key touch point for people when they're like, oh, who's someone, we've got great candidates, who's someone they can talk to maybe learn a little bit more about being a candidate. Well, Esther, she's been doing this for 2 cycles. So I get to talk to a lot of Republican women who are running, and I am so impressed. I'm so impressed with the quality of people that are jumping in to serve this election cycle across the United States. There are so many women running. I saw a statistic recently that there's more women running this election cycle than ever before. And so I'm just excited to help these women win and be part of the team that we all get to Washington, D.C., join you and fight for our voices and fight for our conservative values. And believe it or not, at this point, we're fighting for our country. So I can't wait.
For our country and common sense, right? And that's the thing. I feel like common sense has just gone by the wayside. I feel frequently, and I say this all the time, the kitchen table conversations our working families are having right here in Iowa are not being reflected in the backroom conversations of Speaker Pelosi's office or of the backroom conversations happening in the White House. And that's just wrong. And it's very clear to me, people are coming up to me at the grocery store, right? When I'm at the meat counter buying food for my family, talking about inflation, talking about high gas prices. When you look at those issues and how they really affect a family's bottom line, you're hearing about that out on the trail too, I'm sure.
Yeah. Oh, every day. Just a couple days ago, a woman let me know her food prices, her concerns over food prices. She said, Esther, the amount of groceries I buy, I can carry out of the store in just a handful of bags. And it used to cost me $45 to $50. That same amount of groceries, one handful of grocery bags now costs me $90 to $100.
Right.
And she's worried about paying for lunch for her kids. And another mom, she was like, Esther, I drive my kids. I have 3 kids in 3 different schools. And so I drive a lot every morning, and I can't even afford the gas to now just take my kids to school in the morning.
Yeah.
And every time, every conversation, last night I was at a home builders association dinner and just listening to small business owners. They like, these people are the heart and soul of our economy, our country, and everything from workforce issues to supply chain issues. I mean, like you're highlighting Washington, D.C., the White House, the Biden administration has caused these crises, and it's affecting everyday Americans. And you get to talk to them every day. I get to talk to them every day, and we're fighting for them.
Absolutely, we are. And it's a very real fight, because when I say they're turning a blind eye to these things, it's absolutely true. We've been calling on them to do something about gas prices in the supply chain for more than a year. We've been calling on them not to overspend, because we knew exactly what that spending spree would do. Once they turned on that spending spigot last year and disrespected taxpayers in the process, we said it would cause inflation. And look, we're at 40-year record high inflation. So we have a lot to fight for to get our country and our economy back on track. And that's why I'm so pleased that you get it. Your constituents know you get it. And I believe that they're ready to send you to Washington, D.C. to help us in this fight. So you've been running a great campaign. You've been out in the district meeting with folks from all walks of life, as I said. So what's been the most exciting thing that you've done? And if you could elaborate a little bit about, I know that, you look at your time in Afghanistan and how important that was.
Yeah.
It's personal to you, what happened there.
It is. Yeah. So first of all, campaign, what's most exciting? So the thing I love most about this whole process is just the people I get to meet. I am a very extroverted personality, and I joke that when I was a little girl, my parents forgot to teach me that cardinal rule: don't talk to strangers. So I just think everybody's my friend. And running for Congress is the ultimate meet new friends job description. So I love, love, love getting to meet people and really having that human connection and find out from people like what matters to you. It's really, it's inspiring. It just lights a fire inside of me when I talk to families and moms and people that are struggling, whether it's economic issues, or I'm sure you hear this a lot, the drug crisis, the fentanyl flowing into our country. I hear so many stories just from families or people that have lost, oh yeah, my cousin, my son, my neighbor overdosed from fentanyl. So that's another thing that I hear about regularly, and it affects rural communities really directly. So, but what it gives me and what I really value is just that capacity to let someone know your story matters, your voice matters, and it inspires me to want to fight for us even that much more, to represent the Illinois 17th congressional district. So that's one of my absolute favorite parts of this whole process, is making new friends and meeting people all day, every day.
Yeah, no, it is great. And I think what it does is it highlights that you're in touch with the people of your district, and you will be a good representative because you understand their plight. You have the context that you need to make good decisions on their behalf and be their true advocate. And that's something that you've done not only here at home, but I just wanted you to talk a little bit about the work you did to help people who were struggling after the Biden administration's withdrawal from Afghanistan,
Yeah.
completely botched withdrawal. And, our office did a lot of work on this, to try to help people escape the Taliban and the oppressive regime there. But you were able to do a lot of work there too because of your connections and your time there.
Yes. So to give a little bit of background, so because of my aid work in Afghanistan, while I was there, my mom and dad actually came to visit me in Afghanistan right after I graduated from college. And they said, you know what? Afghanistan needs a lot of love and support. So my mom and dad actually moved to Kabul, Afghanistan 13 years ago and started a school to help educate kids in Afghanistan. So they'd lived there for the last 13 years, and they were not in Afghanistan during the withdrawal because they'd come back to the United States and were on a sabbatical. However, their school was still running. All of their teachers, their students at the school, their lives were directly in danger. And so just knowing these people personally, my friends from when I lived there and worked there, I said, I have got to help. And so I jumped into action mode, and it certainly, it pays off being a member of the military. I called everyone I knew and said, hey, do you know anyone that's on the ground at the airport in Afghanistan? So I got in touch with soldiers who were in the airport. And then I also, running for Congress is really helpful. I called every connection I had in Washington, D.C. and said, hey, do you know someone at the State Department? Do you know someone? Can you help me? And just what I ended up being, Ashley, is I kind of became a project manager of evacuations and was contacting people and being like, okay, I have this family, and people knew that I was involved. So people started reaching out to me. They were like, hey, we know this American family. They're at the airport. They're at this gate. Okay, let me help you. Can you email me their paperwork really quick? And I'll submit their paperwork, and we'll get their evacuation forms filled out and get it to all the soldiers at that gate. And if they have their pictures, they know what they're wearing, so they'll be on the lookout for them. So I kind of just started project managing evacuations at the Kabul airport. Yeah. It gave me a frontline perspective on, first of all, the incompetency, the dereliction of duty, I would even say, of our administration, just how the Biden White House made poor decisions, and the State Department just botched the withdrawal in so many ways. But the common citizens, just everyday people here in America that cared, a lot of us veterans, but also just people that were invested. Or actually, one really fun story, there's a farmer in my congressional district. They'd met an Afghan family here on an exchange program. So there were agricultural, like cross-cultural meetings around agriculture and agriculture education. And they'd had this Afghan family come and stay with them for a few days, all the way from Afghanistan, to learn about American agriculture. So this family here in Illinois 17th, they had friends in Afghanistan, and the wife of the family, she was like a dog with a bone, helping this Afghan family because they knew them personally. So there's so many stories of just regular Americans helping people on the other side of the world to save lives. And I personally was able to be involved in 51 people getting out of the Afghan airport and being safe, and not having to live under the Taliban rule. But Ashley, you know this as well as I do. There's still Americans in Afghanistan right now who are trying to trying to get out. And what is happening from the White House, we need accountability. And it's why we have got to take back the majority and work to bring accountability in Washington, D.C.
Absolutely. Well, you served as a great community connector, and I feel like that should be a good resume builder for you in terms of people who are going to be going to vote in November, knowing that that's what you did when you weren't even a representative yet. Imagine what you'll be able to do when you're a congresswoman. So I look forward to having you as a partner in Congress, and I'm sure people will be excited to head to the polls to vote for you in November. So what can we do? Where can people go find a little bit more information about you and your campaign, Esther?
Ashley, my website, it's estherforcongress.com. So ESTHERFOR Congress.com. And we'd love to have you all involved. For everyone that is supporting Ashley, I don't want to steal your volunteers because I know you have an election in front of you too, but this is one of the most competitive races in the entire country. So if you ever want to take a Saturday and hop on over the Mississippi River, we would love to have people be involved in our campaign as well, right across the river from Iowa. And there's so many ways people can get involved. So would love to have people's support. You can go again to estherforcongress.com or on all the social media platforms. It's Esther for Congress as well.
Well, your name is very fitting. Esther is a strong woman in the Bible, and she's a strong woman out on the campaign trail too. So thank you so much for joining us today. Esther Joy King, candidate for Congress in Illinois. And thanks for joining us for Hot Seat with Hinson. And we look forward to welcoming you next time. Good luck on the campaign trail, Esther. And let's go get them. Let's go take back the house.